Greetings, fellow seeker. In this module, we're going to describe your backstory. We're going to engage in some counterfactual reflection. We're going to talk about growth mindset, and we're going to work out who your avatar is. I'm going to invite you to do a little bit of time travel. I'm going to invite you to slay some dragons, and I'm going to invite you to grow as a personal development practitioner. You know, your backstory, the challenges that you've faced, the adversities that you have overcome, the dragons that you have slayed, they are vital and very important snippets of information that you can bring to your own coaching persona. Because if you can locate those situations in your own past and you can work out how you overcame those situations and those challenges, it makes you a better coach or a better potential coach. Your backstory is one of the most important pieces of your own toolkit as you go forward and you seek to establish your own credentials, not only as a coach, but as an educator. So what I'd like to encourage you to do today is to consider your own backstory. I'd like you to write down some of the challenges that you've faced in the past. Draw a line down the center of an A4 piece of paper, and on one side, write down a challenge or two that you've faced. And on the other side of the line, on the right-hand side, write down how you dealt with those challenges, what strategies you used, what solutions you found. And if you didn't find solutions straight away, looking back with the experience that you've gained as a result of those challenges, write down how you've come to terms with the situation in time. Take those snippets of information. They are valuable evidence and they are valuable strategic components that you can apply to your own coaching. Whether you are coaching yourself in terms of your own personal development, whether you are simply reflecting on situations that you've overcome already, or whether you are taking the evidence that you've accumulated and then being able to apply it to other people, being able to take those strategies and suggest them to other people. So what you're doing is you're delving into an area of strategic thinking which will set you up very well as an edu coach kind of guy or gal. Have a think about challenges you've faced, and then we will go into the next stage of this process, which is the counterfactual reflection process. And I'll describe a little bit more how you can make sense of the challenges that you've overcome so that you can present them to your clients and present them to yourself as a fait accompli. You can present them to yourself as a success story, success backstory. So stick with me for a little while, and we'll delve in a little bit further with the next snippet that I wish to share with you. So, fellow seeker, the next phase of your own self-evaluation and how you can locate and establish your authority by drawing up your life story and your backstory is to engage in counterfactual reflection. Back in the 40s and even into the 60s, I believe that counterfactual reflection was first coined by David Lewis, who was a logician. And he went through the process of thinking about how we come to terms with the past, often in a regretful manner, i.e., if only I had done so and so, then such and such would have occurred. Well, by the time we got to the 90s and the early 2000s, Stanford University and Harvard University were now dedicating time to experimenting with counterfactual reflection. They questioned two controlled groups of students and business people and asked them about something critical that had happened in their past. The first group, they asked that group to simply describe what had happened. The second group, they asked them to consider what they were doing at the time, who they were hanging out with at the time, what their mindset was at the time, and how the events affected them at the time. 3 months later, they questioned the two separate control groups. The people who had engaged in the counterfactual reflection by asking specific questions about themselves declared themselves to be more content with their outcomes. By engaging in a counterfactual reflection process and by locating who you were or who they were at that particular time, they were able to better process the triumphs, and they were able to better overcome the disasters. So when you're looking at your own backstory and you see yourself as the protagonist in your own story, go in a little bit deeper and ask yourself some very specific questions about who you were when those things happened. Because by doing that, you're going to do two things. First of all, you're going to see who you were then. And secondly, you're going to see how much you've changed. In fact, the change that you've experienced may well be in part a result of the challenge you overcame. You can use this technique in order to encourage clients to come to terms with challenges they've overcome in the past, and to illustrate to a client that actually they're doing pretty well to have survived the adversities that they faced down. Counterfactual reflection is a great way to enable a person to logically and reasonably come to terms with how much benefit they've gained from the challenges that they've faced and the dragons they've slayed. So stay with me a little while as you develop your own backstory and therefore develop your own credentials and authority as an advisor or a coach or an educator. And even if it is only for your own personal development, and even if it is only because you want to make better sense of your own life, counterfactual reflection is a great way for you to nail your backstory and make better sense of the challenges that you've faced in your life. Stick with me for a little while longer. In the next part of this presentation, we will talk about how we can define our avatar and how we can establish a growth mindset for ourselves. As we start to process the information that we have located, and we start to define our own backstory by using a process of counterfactual reflection, we start to place ourselves in a more central role in our own lives, and we start to see that the challenges that we've faced and the things that we've overcome have made us what we are today, for better or for worse. The truth of the matter is that we are the survivors of the challenges that we've overcome. That means that by being here, you must at some stage have learned something different. Because if you hadn't learned anything different, you would still be replicating the same things that you were doing back in the day when you made those mistakes or you had those particular crashes. There's a word for this. There's a word for not having a fixed mindset. It's called having a growth mindset. And the growth mindset was first promulgated by Carol Dweck in the early 2000s and 90s. She was fascinated by how some students, in fact children, were able to learn more effectively than others. And she came to the conclusion that the people who could learn more effectively were those who did not see failure. They did not recognize failure as a concept. What they recognized instead was learning and growth. Carol Dweck came to the conclusion that some people are stuck in a fixed mindset, and the fixed mindset is a great load to carry in one's life, a millstone around your neck if you like. A fixed mindset is one which does not encourage you to reflect. It doesn't encourage you to go back in time and to see the challenges that you've faced as adversities you overcame. A fixed mindset is more likely to look at challenges that you've faced and see them as evidence of your own victimhood. And of course, with victimhood comes a sense of entitlement. And of course, entitlement is a myth. No one is entitled. We are all a work in progress. We are all on a journey of life, and we are all subject to life's ups and downs. Those ups and downs are our learnings. And by recognizing that we can learn from our mistakes or learn from our challenges, we then become an advocate for a growth mindset. If you encounter a client or anybody who's stuck, by implication, they are fixed, and they're fixed in their mindset. And it may be that a person in some aspect of their life can become stuck and fixed. It doesn't mean that's the sum total of their whole experience. Sometimes as a coach, it is necessary to be able to locate where the person is stuck and do what you can to try and unstick them. And by sharing the idea of a growth mindset and sharing the idea that learning is the true meaning of life, perhaps you can assist a client to do that. And of course, even if you don't wish to work with a client or coach, and you just wish to promote your own personal development, knowledge of a growth mindset is a wonderful thing to have. Instead of saying, I can't do this, you say, I can't do this yet. What I'm recommending is that you take those elements that you've already delved into, locating your own backstory and engaging in counterfactual reflection, and then give it an ideology almost. Give it the ideology of growth mindset. That way you can frame and you can build success around the way that you see your life, the way that you see your challenges and the way that you see the things you've overcome. They represent success, and they represent a constant sense of learning. They represent life as a journey. Stick with me for a little while, because what we're going to do is we're going to do something a little more hard-headed in the next part of this. We're going to draw together these three strands of creating your backstory, counterfactual reflection, and a growth mindset. And then we're going to apply it into defining your avatar. So, fellow seeker, the final element in this modular approach to personal development and creating coaching authority is to consider how you can draw your own backstory, your own ability to reflect, and your own growth mindset into defining your own avatar. Avatar was first used as a concept by a gentleman called Alan Cooper in the late 60s, I believe. He created a character called Kathy, who represented all of the behaviors and desires of a potential customer. It was used to assist computer programmers, actually. Well, since then, the word avatar has taken off as a marketing term. An avatar is a fictional representation of the person to whom you wish to promote your services. And here's the interesting thing, because your avatar could be described as who you were at some stage in your own past. We've already looked into locating your backstory, and we've already looked into counterfactual reflection, and we've already looked into how to develop a growth mindset. If we take those three ideas and we place them together, I want you to imagine that you have a time machine. And with this time machine, you are able to go back to a specific time in your own life when you required help. And knowing what you know now, with your backstory and your reflection and your growth mindset, describe to yourself how you would help the person you once were. Because the person you once were is your avatar. What I'd recommend you do is that you write out on a piece of paper the challenge that you faced and the person you were. And then, as a mind map process perhaps, you can write down some advice that you would provide for yourself were you to go back in time. Now, I hasten to add that being a coach is not necessarily about dispensing advice. However, being a coach is about suggesting strategies. So let's just replace the idea of advice with strategies, play with words a little bit of semantics for you. What I'm suggesting is that you go back and you describe yourself in the past, how you acted, who you would hang out with, what your earning potential was, your hobbies, your lifestyle choices, your attitudes, your views, and draw up a very solid profile of the person you were, because that can form the basis of your avatar today. Because if you've overcome challenges in the past and you've developed strategies to work out how to slay those dragons, it follows that your avatar and the person you used to be is the best kind of person for you to advise. What we're doing is we're saving time. We're allowing you to be able to describe a potential client or client group by outlining the characteristics of that client. So instead of trying to promote your service or your product to everybody and getting no one, what you can do instead is you can take your own powers of observation, your own backstory, your own reflections, and your own growth mindset, and you can funnel it into designing a client that is best suited to the advice that you are able to offer, and yes, indeed, the strategies that you are able to propose. So work out who your avatar is. Pretend you have a time machine and that you could go back to a time in your own life and advise and propose strategies to your former self. Because most often, your former self is a perfect rendition of your own avatar. And it's a perfect rendition of the people that you can best serve now and here. Have a think about that. Save yourself a lot of time. Instead of trying to serve the whole world, and instead of wondering why nobody's listening, start to dedicate yourself to serving one specific client group or avatar and start to get results which are different to the old results. Which is a wonderful thing to know, isn't it? That the old results, which were tumbleweed, can be changed, and you can start to locate and you can start to connect with people who are more likely to listen to what you have to say. Begin it now.